Welcome back to the channel. We're here today in a bit of a different one. I don't know how this is going to go down because it's currently midnight when I'm recording this, so you might have to bear with if I'm a bit stuttery with my words. But today we're going to be talking yet again about Wrexham Football Club. It's going to be a bit of an interesting one today because I bet you're thinking, oh, it's going to be more transfer news. We're going to be talking about players potentially joining the club, a player joining the club. But no, it's a non-related transfer video, thank God, because we've had so many on the channel. Today we're going to be reviewing Wrexham's first game of the 26-27 season. We were defeated 1-0 by fellow Championship side Middlesbrough in the Carabao Cup. We're going to be looking at the ins and outs of that, everything you need to know regarding player situations, the performance of Wrexham, what we can expect going into this campaign, and I'm also going to be bringing you an exclusive leak of the new third shirt for this season. So before we get going in today's video, I say in every video, if you want to see more Wrexham FC content, this is your hub for that. Everything regarding transfer news, general news, just everything on Wrexham Football Club, the football club that you love, is on this channel. So make sure to get down there and click the red subscribe button. It's free to do so. It's free to make an account. So if you would like to see more of this style of content, then you found your place. Without further ado, let's get taking a look at that Middlesbrough defeat. So Wrexham have exited the Carabao Cup after a 1-0 defeat at the Riverside against Middlesbrough. It's a game that I'm sure a lot of clubs across the whole of the EFL will be using as a friendly match, especially those of the Championship and top-end League One sides. It was a game that Wrexham were just going to part of the players for more of a competitive edge, you could say, in terms of these friendly matches that we've had against Man United, Liverpool, Leeds, etc. It had that more of a competitive edge to it, which I think is only going to do the players the world of good. And of course, we saw Phil Parkinson say all in the lead up to this game, it wasn't going to be a game that Wrexham would prioritise, and it's not a competition that we are going to be prioritising in the upcoming campaign. And although at times it did feel like a friendly, the atmosphere, the type of play that both teams are playing, the passing around the back, not many chances created, there were glimpses in that game where it did have that slight competitive edge, and I only think that's going to do the Wrexham players the world of good going into this, and there are a lot of talking points that we can take from it. And before the game had even kicked off, the main talking point was the lineup and the squad choice from Phil Parkinson going into this, and I think it told us a lot about the future of some of the players in this squad, more specifically the likes of Lewis Brunt, Connor Cody, Elliot Lee, Ryan Barnett, Ryan Hardy. They're all players that were left out of this squad, and for all we're concerned and for all we know as Wrexham fans, it wasn't due to injury problems, and it doesn't really come as a surprise. I think a few of those doesn't really come as a major surprise to us. The likes of Cody, Lee, Hardy, etc. And I think it's clear as well, Phil Parkinson has stated in the past couple of weeks, he is really looking to get a new centre-back in through the door. Matthias Moreno was a target for Wrexham. He didn't come off. Harry Suter is a target. He's had a £10 million price tag slapped on him. It is clear that Phil Parkinson is working his wonders behind the scenes, is trying to work his best to get this centre-back through the door, and it's clear to see that I think a move for Lewis Brunt is definitely on the cards, and I think it's highly likely because we saw last season he suffered that injury coincidentally away at Middlesbrough in the league, and he never really got back into that starting 11. There were some key performances from the likes of Dom Hyam, from Max Cleworth, from the likes of Callum Doyle. All those back three centre-backs had some really good performances, and it's become ever harder for Lewis Brunt to get back in that starting lineup. And I think a loan move, a season-long loan move, whether it's to a Championship team, top-end League One team, is very likely for Lewis Brunt, which I think is a big talking point amongst Wrexham fans because a lot of fans rate him. He's still relatively young and he's not really put a foot wrong when he has been in this side, and I think a lot of fans will see it as a harsh decision to ship him on to another side. But I think at this moment in time, for his sake, to get regular game time, a loan move could make a lot of sense. And I think on the other sense, have Connor Cody. It's been a matter of time for weeks upon weeks now to see his departure from the football club, and a signing that is going to go down, I think, as one of the worst in this club's history, considering he's on a reported £20,000 a week, a £2 million upfront fee from Leicester City that we did pay for him. Yeah, it's not gone well at all, considering I think he played 6 or 7 games for us. I think if you are as well looking on the loan front, you are looking at centre attack midfielder Elliot Lee, striker Ryan Hardy, Seb Revan. They're all players that have been transfer shortlisted by Phil Parkinson for the majority of this summer. I think they're players that they'll have said to other clubs, other agents, look, they're up for sale. They're not going to be part of our plans going into this season. And I think they will have had interest in them. I think the likes of Elliot Lee and Ryan Hardy, there'll be clubs knocking on the door, but Wrexham are going to wait until there's concrete interest and a good offer to them presented so they can accept this offer. And I think at this moment in time, it's just a waiting game until we see those leave the club. And I think as well, if you're looking more importantly in that right wing back role, we saw the inclusion of Ryan Longman in the matchday squad ahead of Ryan Barnett. So Longman is ahead of Barney in the pecking order. Again, a low move for Barnett could be possible. I think for Barnett's career's sake and the age sake and sort of how he's played over the past couple of seasons, he'll be wanting that permanent move. He'll be wanting a permanent chapter in his career. He's at the prime age now. I think he's 24, 25. He's going to want to be playing the best football possible at the best level possible. And the low move now, it does make sense for Barnett in terms of his future career sake at Wrexham, but he'll be wanting that consistent game time. So what I would say as a Wrexham fan looking at this situation from the outside in, a clear out is expected 100% for 5 or 6 players in the next week or two. Talking next on the performances now, I think the performance on the whole from Wrexham, considering it wasn't being utilised as a competitive fixture, as a game that Wrexham really wanted to win, I think it was good. I think it was overall a goodish performance across a lot of areas across the pitch, but there's a lot of weaknesses and a lot of areas that Wrexham do need to target in this transfer window. And I think if you were looking at that first 45 minutes, I think Wrexham took control. I think Middlesbrough had the more of the possession, but Wrexham looked comfortable on the ball. We had a couple of chances going forward, and I think we definitely had the better of those chances. And I think some of our wing play, I thought Imre looked good at times. I thought George Thompson as well, full of energy down that left-hand side, put some crosses into the box. Weren't amazing, but again, showed glimpses of what we can expect from him going into this championship season. Those chances created as well from wide areas was good. I'd like to just highlight the absolutely incredible performance of Callum Doyle. I think at one point he did a roulette and then a nutmeg on a player, put some wicked crosses into the box. He's destined for the Premier League, and I'm going to say it quietly because we don't want these Premier League sides, abroad sides coming in for Callum Doyle, but I am shocked. I am so shocked that a Premier League team has not made an inquiry for him over the summer, because he's destined for the top. His technical ability, incredible. I think the one thing that is sort of putting him away from being that starter in the top 10 Premier League side is maybe his pace and his turn of pace when coming up against a fast striker, but nonetheless, he's destined to be in that England squad sooner or later. But away from Callum Doyle, whether it was the travelling from the Wrexham players, of course, we've seen the travelling over to Helsinki, we've been to Krakow, we've then made that really long flight over to New York, that jet lag, that getting used to the weather out there and then coming all the way back. I think Parky said it was a night flight on the way back, but whatever, I just think Wrexham really did that sort of sharpness in a lot of areas across the pitch. A couple of misplaced passes, weak in midfield at times, getting run past by their midfield, who sort of just had a lot more energy than the likes of O'Brien and Matty James. And I think going forward, we were lacking that sharpness. Sam Smith had a really good chance. There was a chance at the back post. I think Wrexham, on a league game, 24 games into the season, would have put away 3 or 4 of those chances. So it was disappointing that we couldn't get one in the back of the net, but I think there's so much room for improvement that it's not a big concern at this moment in time, because we're creating those chances. Those players have still got that quality, and I think it was a much better start that we saw against Middlesbrough in the Carabao Cup, which is going to set us up in that week training leading up to that Cardiff City game, opposed to the start we had to the Championship season last year. If we can just get 3 or 4 players that are going to be starters week in, week out, just really take that team from a 7, 7.5 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10 every single week, Wrexham will be in there challenging at the top end of the table this year. And I think something we have got to remember as well from that game is a lot of fans are saying we should have taken those chances, but we're missing our top scorer. We were missing our top scorer and top assister from last season, Josh Windass, and it was so evident. Watching from home, watching on the television, you were just waiting for that moment to be created, that goal to just fly into the top corner, and that is the role that Josh Windass does play, and we don't really have that player, so it highlighted the real quality that Josh Windass does bring to this team. But nonetheless, a very good workout for Wrexham in a very competitive game. I think most importantly, the Wrexham fans will be wanting that striker through the door, and I think you look at Sam Smith, he put a really good shift in. I'm really excited to see what he can bring to this team this season, because he's being utilised as that striker that can be really strong up front, put his body in, that upper body strength is really good, and I think technically as well he's very good, just works really well with that link-up play. But I think Wrexham in this transfer window now, in the final few weeks, we need to show a real statement, big ambitions to the rest of the Championship, and bring in a prolific striker who can take the front line by the scruff of the neck, can score 15 goals, take away that pressure from, the likes of Broadhead, Josh Windass, who, don't get me wrong, probably really enjoy scoring goals, but at times last season, I bet Windass thought, if no one's going to score them, then I'm going to have to. And I'm sure you've thought that on a couple of different occasions, but we just need to get that striker in that's going to come into this side, be a different type of profile that we do already have in that forward line. and just come in and score the goals that we do need. But I think going forward, it's one less distraction as well. I'm sure a lot of fans will be happy to see us exit the Carabao Cup, because for the first time in God knows how long, it's been the first time in Football League history probably that the Championship season has started after the League Cup, which again, I don't really know what sense that makes in terms of competition-wise, squad-wise, because a lot of teams will be putting out weakened squads, and as the season goes on, you're going to have those less quality teams going through, which for the broadcasters, for the TV rights, I'm sure they'll be absolutely distraught about. But I think going forward, it's one less distraction until the FA Cup does come into place in January. We've got a week until our game against Cardiff City, just over a week when this video does come out. But I think by the time that game does come around, we can see a lot better of Wrexham Football Club, a better version of what we saw against Middlesbrough, hopefully 1 or 2 signings through the door. But what I would say after that Middlesbrough game, yes, it was disappointing. We saw a lack of quality at times, but there's no need to panic. We were fresh off the back of an American tour where we've put in some good performances. Just wait until the season starts, wait until the transfer window's over, and then we can make some real judgments. So finishing off the video, I've only talked about the Middlesbrough match, but we're going to be finishing off with the third shirt. Now, you've probably seen all over on social media, but we're back with the exclusive leaks on the channel. It's not really exclusive now because a lot of you will have seen it on Twitter, on Instagram, possibly on Facebook, but this time around, we're going to be talking about the highly anticipated third shirt, the shirt that had all the ambitions and the expectations from Wrexham fans after the slight disappointment from the home and away. And again, I think like the home and away shirt, it's going to be one that sparks mass debate amongst the Wrexham fan base. Now, it'll be on screen when I'm talking. As you can see, it's a plain template. As far as I'm aware, there's no real subtle design on the front of the shirt. It looks to be a plain cream shirt, as we can see. The small red stripes going down the side of the shirt, the small red and black cuffs as well on the sleeves, I think look really smart. But I think yet again, I'm just torn on this shirt. I'm not too keen on the collar. I think a rounded collar, what I would say, and I'm sure I'm subjective to this, but a circular collar like on the shirt I'm wearing, I think that can solve all the solutions of a football shirt. I think that's the one thing that could make or break a shirt, the collar. If this had a rounded collar, like we saw, it's in that rack over there, the anniversary shirts just had those simple round collars, those simple designs, and it went down an immediate club classic. So I'm not too sure on the collar, but what I would say is the main talking point from this shirt, you can see it, it's the new simplified badge on the shirt, which in my opinion, a lot of fans will probably disagree with me. I like the route the Wrexham have gone down. Do I think it would have been slightly better maybe if it was a different colour? Yes, but you want to keep those club traditions in. It's a red badge design with those dragons on it, and I think it's something that Wrexham could maybe expect from future years to come, because it's a path that a lot of clubs have gone down in recent years. You see the likes of Arsenal with the cannon. A lot of clubs have sort of used that retro simplified badge on the shirt, and it gives that real retro feel, which a lot of fans seem to like. So Wrexham have gone down this route, possibly hoping that it will increase retail sales, shirt sales, etc. But like I said, it's a path that a lot of teams have gone down. I think it's only one that can be seen as a positive one, and I think it was only a matter of time before Wrexham did go down it. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you like it? Do you think it's a bit mid? Of course, I think all 3 shirts from this season are not a disappointment, but in my opinion, they're not a shade on what we had last year. Of course, last year we had that retro home shirt, the Patagonia third shirt, the daffodil away shirt, shirts that had real meaning behind them. But this year, of course, we've got that more subtle designs in terms of the cop on the front. We've got that away shirt, the Firefox one, which represents the sleigh. And then, of course, we've got this third shirt one, which I'm not sure what the cream does represent, but I'm sure once the club officially confirm it, there'll be a reason behind it. But I think in terms of the designs, what we can gather that the fans like is they like meaning behind the shirts. We like reasoning. We like the fact that Patagonia was inspired by that third shirt. We like the daffodil away shirt. We like that centralised badge referring to the shirts of the 70s, 80s. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one. Your thoughts are more than welcome in the comments. So that is it for today's video. If you did enjoy, make sure to drop a like, make sure to get down there as well and click the subscribe button. I am heading away for the next 5 or 6 days, which again, I'm probably leaving at the wrong time because yet again, there'll probably be 1 or 2 signings that I won't be able to report on, but I'll bring my microphone just in case something does happen. Stay tuned, there'll be plenty of content coming your way. And until the next one, take care guys, up the Championship Reds.